What's up, everybody? Jammin Jon here with Thralls of Metal, bringing you the next installment of What's Jon Jamming. I believe it's the 6th one or something like that. First of all, I apologize to all the bands. I know you guys have been waiting a minute. I've been pretty swamped between other Thralls things and work and COVID and all that crap. So, as you know, typically during these segments, I go through about 10 bands or so. I normally try to go for unsigned, smaller bands for sure. Definitely the underground. And if you're needing a push, I'm here to hopefully give it to you. So, 10 bands, no specific order. They all were pretty kick-ass. I'm just gonna dive into it. The first band is Aeons Abyss with their album Impenitent. They are independent, self-released. It's their first full-length, released on November the 1st, 2019. They are classified as melodic death metal, and that makes sense because it's definitely melodic death metal. One EP they have out besides this full length, and 5 singles released between 2019 and 2020, so they've been at it. Currently just a bassist and a guitar player slash vocalist. The drums are programmed, however they sound really good for programmed drums. I might actually reach out and see what program they used because they sound really good. This is for fans of Death and Vital Remains and Unleashed, etc. Again, very melodic death metal. It does sound really, really clean in the mix. There's a lot of high end. If I had to give one gripe, it would be maybe turn down the high end and make it not sound so polished. But other than that, if you like the album Human or the album Individual Thought Patterns from Death, then you're gonna love the sound of this band. Also check out the song Darkness Falls. Of course, not the Killswitch Engage song. This song just really jams. So again, that's Aeons Abyss from Australia. Please check these guys out. You won't be sorry. Next up, we have Chaos Over Cosmos with the album The Ultimate Universe. This was a pretty late entry. I just saw the email a couple days ago, and I was like, yeah, I'll throw it on for one more. They're on Narcolepta Productions. This is their second full length, released the 20th of June, 2020. They're a 2-piece band. Josh, their vocalist, wrote the lyrics and also helped with song composure. And then, brother, I'm sorry if I butcher your name, Rafal. I hope that's it. If it's not, Rafal. I'm sorry, brother. He's the one who contacted me. He does the guitars and the synths, as well as programmed the drums, and also, of course, helped on composure. This is a prog metal band through and through. Like, if Devin Townsend and Hagen got together and wrote an album, it would be pretty much in that vein. The drums, again, on this, especially for programmed drums, the drums sound fantastic. I also want to know what you use to program these drums, because I don't think they could have been done better for programmed. So kudos. The guitars are both beefy and crunchy, but have a really clean tone. The vocals are solid between screams and growls and even clean singing. Again, I find the vocals to be a little bit out front, and I understand actually that seems to be kind of a trend of people that do-it-yourself albums, and who the hell am I to judge? I don't have a do-it-yourself album. I think they're a little bit too out front. I think if you back them off just a smidge, I think that's really going to work out. The song 100 in particular sounds like Haken's 1985, but just with a little more electronic influence in the sound versus all the music that Haken uses. But still, it's definitely on par with that. It's a very fun, upbeat, bouncy, and again, being prog all over the map. The song Worlds Apart sounds like if the band Pomegranate Tiger had vocals. And the last song, I believe it's called Asimov. I'm not 100%. Asimov? I'm gonna go with Asimov. Sounds like the Liquid Tension Experiment, but slightly genty. It's a very good listen and solid prog metal, so if you like prog metal, please check out Chaos Over Cosmos. Then we move on to another late entry. I think I talked to this dude like 2 days ago, from the band Cyclops Cataract with their album Swallow the World. They are from the UK. This is classified as blackened ambient death metal, which I'll give it. It's their first release, released on September the 2nd in 2020. It is a 5-track EP. So think more like melodic Opeth. So I mean, I realize most of Opeth is melodic. Think like Blackwater Park meets Behemoth's The Apostasy, and then like small little nods to Trey Azergoth. that's kind of what this band sounds like. Leans a little bit more towards black metal, though, with the melodic ambience and the tremolo. The tremolo is a little high in some parts of the record, but it's okay. This album is still jam-packed full of great riffs and great chugs. There's not a whole lot by the way of lead work, but the guitar work that is there is pretty solid. Maybe change the trigger in the snare as to the sound. Just something to give it a little bit more heft and a little bit more depth, but that's the drummer in me talking. Screw what I think. The song Cyclops, again, has a real nasty chug in it. The vocals and the screams in this sound absolutely horrifying. I was definitely put back as I jammed it at 9:30 in the morning at work before I had a cup of coffee. The breakdown in that song is rather polyrhythmic, still leans towards black metal, more so with the melody and the ambience, although there are still great riffs and great chugs to give it that death metal feel. The synths in a couple songs are really great. They're not overwhelming by any means, but then there's also a couple places where, you know, my opinion would be to either turn down the synth a little bit or make it something that's not as prominent in the sound. And the sound of the snare drum, again, I'm nitpicky, I'm sorry. The sound of the snare, I would personally pick something with just a little bit more heft and then maybe a little bit of like a pinch of reverb on it, only because I think the sound of that snare takes away from the feeling of the music. The song Contagion has palm-muted riffs and a really solid groove that's complemented actually this time really well by a light melody and some synth work. The thrash influence for these guys definitely pops out in this song, but then it transitions to a piano part kind of abruptly. Like it just breaks into just a piano and there's no, like it doesn't really fade out. Also, there's no like fade in to it on the next song. So I'm just curious about the piano part. Probably not something I would have done, but I'm not you guys. And then certainly the album closer, the song The Deep. This is where I get really reminded of Behemoth from the overall sound of this song, but then the breakdown straight reminds me of Blasphemer and their latest album. I forget what it's called, but if you like Behemoth and Blasphemer, you're definitely gonna like The Deep. I think they're a great band overall. I think that for your first roundabout, your first rendezvous with music, I really think that once this band finds their stride completely, they're gonna be a big name. Watch out for Cyclops Cataract. Moving right along, we have the band Fatal Castration with their album Diverse Paradigm of Lunacy. These guys were formed in 2014. They are a brutal death / slam band from the Philippines. This is their second full length. The website said it was due to be released sometime in September. As we are approaching the end of September, who knows? I did email these guys and they just didn't simply get back to me, so the album's coming. At the time, there were only 2 songs for me to review, so I went ahead and reviewed those 2 songs. Now, as you guys are aware, either from watching other What's Jon Jamming videos or stuff that Nick and I have done together, neither of us are really slam fans. We do like brutal death metal. Neither of us are really slam fans. And again, for me, personally, I would state that there has to be, you know, while I like heavy breakdowns and heavy music, I would state on my own that there needs to be something besides a breakdown and technical proficiency. That's my thing. I have nothing against this band whatsoever. Albeit it is marketed as a brutal death slam band, this band in particular does have more nods to death metal, which is really cool. The vocals are typical for the genre, but it is heavy as nuts. Reminds me a lot of early Dying Fetus or like Skinless, which are both great bands. And the guitar tones sound straight up like old Suffocation, like Effigy of the Forgotten Suffocation, or seeing Suffocation live. And the drums aren't clicky, and I'm really happy about that, because in a lot of slam bands, you get either really clicky kick drums or that really high piccolo snare, but the drums again also sound more like a death metal album, so that definitely appealed to me. Coup de Grace and Persian Grinder were the only 2 available songs, and I guess Persian Grinder comes off of the album they had before this, so definitely give these guys a spin. Next band I have is kind of cool, the band Idol, with their album Dissolution of Pulgasari. I hope I said that right. I stared at it for a long time. If I didn't, I'm sorry. Self-released on August 13th, 2020. These guys are actually from Detroit. Detroit is a hop, skip, and a jump away, and I know that once shows come back, Nick and I are in Detroit all the goddamn time. So we hope to see you guys out there. These guys are marketed as slam again, death metal, and a little bit of like hardcore, deathcore influence. Sounds to me personally like more mid-2000s deathcore, like when Oceano was really big, or like in Whitechapel's heyday, Despised Icon, but then throw in a more technical side like, say, Rings of Saturn or Infinite Annihilator, which, you know what you're gonna get. Aside from a clicky kick drum and pig squeals, I really have no complaints. The record was actually mixed quite nicely. The record is produced quite nicely, and some of the flow of, I mean, I know it's only a 5-song EP, but once you get to like the last 2 tracks, the way they flow kind of reminds me of the first Zenith Passage album, so kudos on that forefront. The final track, Crushing Crypto Lobotomy, and Crushing spelled with a K, just want to put that out there, has some super, super sick groove in it. And I can overlook pig squeals and a clicky kick drum for some super sick groove. So again, these guys are from Detroit, so I hope that we see them out there on the circuit once concerts reappear. Moving forward, I have the band Incremate. Now, Incremate first reached out to us on the 1st of September, and I didn't see the email. As you know, at least for this segment, I ask people to hit up either mostly our Instagram. I say hit up our Instagram feed, but now, we get messages from our Facebook Messenger and from the Thralls Gmail and from Instagram, and this somehow just slipped right past me. I'm terribly sorry. When I spoke to one of the guys in Incremate, he said, don't worry about it. Don't worry about the review. We've missed the promo side of the thing where we could send you CDs. We've already sent out all the promos. Don't worry about it. I can't not review this album because this band absolutely kicks ass. Incremate, with the album Mortal Domain, released on the 1st of September in 2020. They are on German Democratic Recordings. It is their 3rd full-length album. And again, when I say Incremate, Nick goes, oh yeah, I've heard those guys. So here we go, Incremate. They're pure 90s style death metal. Just straightforward death metal, so you got like Obituary and Bolt Thrower and Morbid Angel. These guys easily could have slid into the 90s Tampa scene, but they're from Europe. So had me banging my head nonstop pretty much from the moment this album turned on till the time it was over. I was moving and grooving. I shot Nick a text and I was like, holy shit, dude, check these guys out. The song Streaming with Blood is a great pace setter for the album. Just a real headbanger, just real sick, chunky grooves. Everything that I like about straightforward 90s style death metal. The song Complete Possession, again, the guitar in that, the chug during one of the verses into the chorus sounds like straight suffocation, and I fucking love it. The song Murderous Doom has this really cool triplet chug in the verse, and then when you get towards the breakdown, it's got this like Cannibal Corpse crawling riff to it. Potent Mortality, that whole song kicks ass. Really, this whole record is grooves and hooks and chugs all over the place. Definitely one to check out. Definitely one to buy. Then I have Reconstructed Torso from Russia. They're on Pathologically Explicit Records from Spain. Was released June 30th of 2020. This is the band's first full-length release. Again, classified as brutal death metal and slam. I don't know where all the brutal death metal came from, but I dig it. Not so much a slam fan, but it's okay. This brutal death metal band, though, again, and thank you, sounds like Suffocation and Wormed, and I like both those bands quite a bit. And a hint of Gorgasm, which is really cool, because I'm also a giant Gorgasm fan. Seems to be a moving theme on lyrical content, too. These guys are all about sci-fi and aliens. Again, it's recorded really well, which is something I'm not used to for brutal death slam bands. Recorded really well, aside from the ring and the snare drum. Dude, if you took the ring out of that snare drum, this whole record would sound brutal as hell. Not too many pig squeals again. I'm super happy for that. I'm not a fan of pig squeals whatsoever. I can deal with a couple, but the constant thing, There are other words out there than brie. Brie is cheese, man. The vocals are more death metal. So again, without having, you know, the typical slam vocals, they're definitely more... there's some variance to the guy's voice, so a good mixture of screams and growls, and I'll allow a couple pig squeals at that point. The song Superior Life Form kicks ass. Again, chugs, grooves, and even a hook or two, which is not typically prominent for brutal death metal. And then the song Planet Eater, the vocal cadences on this are pretty sick. They line up pretty equally with the guitar and the drums. And again, for the fact that there's a vocal cadence and not just the typical slam shit, great. And also, that song has some really neat polyrhythms in it. Reconstructed Torso, give these guys a listen. It was a fun time. Definitely, as for all these bands, man, please go check out their stuff. Music needs everybody right now. Alright, last slam band of the night. I don't know what it was with all the slam bands hitting me up, but I mean, thank you guys for reaching out nonetheless. I'll definitely hook it up for you. The band Snuffed on Sight with their album Promo 2020. Guys, if it's anything other than Promo 2020, I'm sorry. That's what Encyclopedia Metalum said. That's what Bandcamp said. If it really is Promo 2020, great name. If it's not, reach out in the comments and call me a dickhead. It's an independent release, released on August 25th of 2020. These guys are from Minneapolis, Minnesota, and since Minneapolis, Minnesota seems to be pretty pissed off right now, and I understand, yeah, more power to them. They had one demo before this, and then one single, so these guys are pretty new to the circuit. It is slammy, brutal death metal. More like Flesh Rot or, say, 200 Stab Wounds. The vocals, again, are very typical for the genre, except it throws in some, I guess what I call bro metal. Just kind of reminded me of Amur at times, and there's only one Amur record worth of shit, kind of, and I don't remember what it's called. And again, it's mixed like any other slam band. Guys, look, I'm gonna be honest with you. That bass tone is horrible. I don't know what I would have done, but that bass tone is not fitting. And again, I'm sorry. Two songs, the song Slipping and the song Outside Dog. Once again, I'm gonna be honest, it's not really my bag. Now, for the people that like this kind of music, and I know a bunch of slam fans actually, for the people that like this music, you guys are gonna fucking love it. Outside Dog, while I feel bad for the dog should at least be housebroken at some point. Once again though, it's heavy, and if you dig slam, you're definitely gonna dig these dudes. Alright, two bands left. So, one of two remaining bands is the band The Choir, with their album A Beautiful Fire Scorch Our Hands. And I shouldn't say their album, it's just one dude from Singapore. A do-it-yourself 3-track EP, weighs in at about 20 minutes, classified as ambient blackened death doom, which is totally cool with me. And again, now this is not the Choir that is the alternative rock band, I think, in Georgia, nor is it the garage rock band from someplace where they play garage rock. It's neither of those bands. This is just a crushing, heavy, big, beautiful ambient record. It's melodic, again, very busy drum work, and again, for programmed drums, I'm really happy to see bands using programmed drums that actually sound like real drums. Good job. Definitely more groove than I thought there would be. Typically for, you know, ambient blackened, you know, death doom bands, you're talking about just a lot of tremolo and a lot of melody and a lot of ambience and a lot of dissonance, which is all things I'm fans of, but normally you don't see a band that described as this with a bunch of groove in it, and this definitely had a bunch of groove. Chuggy at times, maybe even a little bit genty at times, which again is really cool. Still maintains the ambience and the dissonance, though that's not left out at any point. For fans of Ulcerate or Inverloch, the music is wonderful. Again, I will say the vocals are just a smidgen too high. If you're gonna leave them that high, my thing would be to either add some reverb to them or some sort of effect to make them sound as dissonant as the music, because in my opinion, I wouldn't want the vocals overpowering such badass music. I would mostly say that about the first song. I believe it's called It Crawls. Towards like the 4 or 5 minute point, the vocals are so overpowering the music, and maybe this was on purpose. The vocals are so overpowered in the music that it reminds me of Portal. If Portal's music was just a smidge higher, But you'll understand what I'm saying. Now, I'm not saying that's bad, because again, this album kicks ass for 3 songs. Like the last track, the one Reborn, it's a jammer, especially after the 3-minute and 30-second mark. After the 3-minute and 30-second mark, and it's like 8 minutes and some change. After the 3-minute and 30-second mark, it turns into this killer instrumental jam. The breakdown on it is nuts. The riffs, again, there's polyrhythms going on here. I really like the guitar work. Downright creepy, though. The vocals, up until that point, up until that 3-minute and 30-second mark, the vocals sound like a demon screaming in a sewer. You know, if I was a demon in a sewer, I'd also be screaming. But that's what it sounds like. Again, I'm really impressed with the choir, and brother, I'm sorry it took me so long to get to you. But this is definitely a listen. Please check out the choir. Last one. I saved a really fun one for the last one. The band We Are Wasted with the album Chug It Down. This is their second full-length release. They are from Santa Clarita, California. Released this album on 4/20 this year, if that tells you anything. They're friends with the band Hammer. Hammer, of course, is another kind of thrashy band from LA. I reviewed them, and then We Are Wasted got a hold of me and said, hey, saw you reviewed anything for Hammer. Would you mind doing the same for us? Not at all. It's like if the Bloodhound Gang and DVDA, if you don't know about DVDA, that's Trey Parker and Matt Stone's band, and then the band Real Big Fish. It'd be like if all those dudes got together and got wasted and then wrote an album. That's what this sounds like. It is a fun listen. You can tell these guys are partying with songs such as Hair of the Dog or Smoking Like a Chimney. I mean, what do you think? It's exactly what it sounds like. To be honest with you, it reminds me of my late teens through my early 30s. Anyway, give these guys a listen if you want something fun to listen to. These dudes for sure, I've already reached out and said, hey, if you guys ever make it to the Midwest, we're going to at least have a beer together, if not some herbs. That brings me to the end of What's Jon Jamming. I had a real good time with this one. I enjoyed all the bands I jammed, and again, you guys should definitely check them out. As far as further segments for the next What's Jon Jamming, you guys, as always, feel free to send me whatever you want. I will definitely take a listen to it. However, as Thralls has a bunch of stuff coming up here in the next few weeks that deal with a lot of albums to listen to, I don't want to be sitting on these records for a long time, much like I had to do, unfortunately, with this round of bands. So, while I'll say still you can reach us at our Instagram, thrallsofmetal@gmail.com, or even our Facebook Messenger for those that follow us. Reach out. And if you want to send me something, I'll definitely listen to it. It's just going to take me a minute to get to it. So, with that being said in mind, kind of brings me to the end of this segment. It's been great hanging out with you guys, and holy shit, thank you so much. I know we're sitting, I think, at like a little over 2,500 subs. Never thought we'd make it this far, for sure, at least not at this point in the game. Thank you guys. Keep it coming. Keep your comments coming and your likes. I know we've got a bunch of cool content coming and some kick-ass discographies that we're about to run through. So stay tuned as always. You guys take care. Keep it metal.